So I think it's no secret that I like movies. I've talked about them a lot on the channel, and I do watch quite a handful of them. And today I'm going to talk about one of my favourite trilogies in film. Nope, not that one. Or that one. Or this one, dear God. Yep, there we go. Yep, I'm going to be reviewing the Cornetto trilogy, one of my favourite film trilogies of all time, beside Indiana Jones, of course, and the original Star Wars trilogy. Anyway, the Cornetto trilogy is some of my favourite films of all time. They are definitely on my top 10 film list. So let's talk about one of my only favourite zombie films of all time, Shaun of the Dead. Now, just to issue a disclaimer, I don't normally watch any zombie films. Well, they're not necessarily my cup of tea. I mean, I watch The Walking Dead, but I haven't watched many zombie films. Sorry, Evil Dead. Anyway, Shaun of the Dead is actually a really good film, and the comedic value still holds up today, in my opinion. So, what exactly was good about Shaun of the Dead? Well, the first good thing about the film is the two leads, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. They are absolutely hilarious in the role, especially Nick Frost, who, well, he's great in Shaun of the Dead, and he's also great in Hot Fuzz and The World's End, but we'll get to those later. Anyway, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are probably one of the best comedic duos. They're like James Corden and Matthew Horn, or Batman and Robin, in my opinion. And they work together in all three films. They've even worked together outside of the Cornetto trilogy. There was Spaced, there was Paul, I think there were some others, I can't remember. But still, Shaun of the Dead is one of my favourite zombie films, and there's another reason why. The director, yes, Edgar Wright, he did a fantastic job with this. I believe him and Simon Pegg actually wrote the script as well, so props to them for that. A director that's also writing the film, sometimes it can't go well. I mean, Ben Affleck never got a chance to do it. He was going to direct, write, and also star in it, but that didn't turn out well, did it? Anyway, Edgar Wright is one of my favourite directors, alongside anyone who's worked in the MCU. Excluding any of the crap MCU films. We're not here to talk about the MCU anyway. Edgar Wright is a fantastic director, and he's directed some of my favourite films. I haven't watched Baby Driver yet, I'm still trying to get to it. Wright does a great job with Shaun of the Dead. He does a great job with all of the other films. And, well, the story behind Shaun of the Dead is, I believe there was an episode of Spaced, which was kind of the first thing Simon Pegg had a lead role in. After a day of shooting where Pegg's character was, I believe, high on speed and shooting zombies from Resident Evil 2, Pegg and Edgar Wright said, hey, let's make a zombie film. And so Shaun of the Dead came to be. So overall, Shaun of the Dead is a great zombie film, and overall it's a good film in general. While some of the jokes are highbrow, and while the zombies' effects are really, really good, the acting also was very good as well, and that I have to praise. There's great directing, great writing, great everything really, and it's got some of the classic Edgar Wright tropes that come back in the later films. So, yeah. So overall, I'm going to give Shaun of the Dead an 8 out of 10. Okay, now we're going to move on to maybe one of my favourite action films of all time, Hot Fuzz. Now, there's so much good stuff in this that this video might even extend over 15 minutes, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Anyway, what was good about this? Pretty much everything. For one thing, the film has fantastic action, and it's really, really funny. For one thing, Timothy Dalton is in this, and if you're a Bond fan, you'll know he played James Bond in the 80s for 2 films. And the fact that he's actually a villain is pretty funny, because it kind of flips the whole James Bond thing on its head. Anyway, let's get to the 2 leads. Okay, I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent here, because Nicholas Angel is one of my favourite characters. So, what did I like about Nicholas Angel when I watched Hot Fuzz? Firstly, he's so badass. I don't really need to say more about it because he's just so cool. I mean, I literally wanted to be Nicholas Angel when I saw the film, and which I believe was when I was about 11 years old. Yes, I know the film was rated 15, alright? You don't need to bitch about it in the comments. Anyway, what else did I like about Nicholas Angel? Well, his character, really. Because at the beginning of the film, he's sort of the opposite of the classic action hero, which was actually pretty interesting for Nicholas Angel. And this is an action film slash a comedy film, sort of, because, well, Peg's character doesn't necessarily make that many jokes in the film until sort of like the third act of the film when he starts making action movie references, which is, I'm going to admit, really funny. And the sunglasses and the getup he's got is just really, really cool. And him riding into the main Sanford town on that horse was really, really funny. Another part about the film I have to talk about is Nick Frost's character, Danny Butterman. I'm not good with the accents, I apologise for that. Anyway, Nick Frost is... Well, this is actually one of my favourite Nick Frost characters in the Cornetto Trilogy. Him and Peg have amazing chemistry in the film throughout. And it's actually Danny who introduces Nicholas Angel to all the action movie cliches. And the part in the film when they're at the pub and they get particularly wasted is quite funny. And also the fact that Danny has just a giant library of action films was actually pretty funny as well. And one of the best lines was when he said, "By the power of Grayskull," when they saw that country guy's secret stash of guns. And also there was a sea mine in there. Very interesting. Anyway, Peg and Frost have great chemistry in Hot Fuzz, and it's kind of a shame we're not going to get a sequel to the film. Okay, now let's talk about the director once again. Edgar Wright does a fantastic job with Hot Fuzz. He's just so good at it. Him and Peg actually wrote the script together. In fact, little fun fact here, where during the writing of the script, Peg actually got a call from J.J. Abrams, and that's why he was in Mission Impossible 3. And thank God Hot Fuzz didn't get delayed, to the best of my knowledge. Anyway, Edgar Wright does a fantastic job with this, just like Shaun of the Dead. And we get more of the Edgar Wright action tropes, like the close-ups. And I think there was a reference to something in there, but I can't remember. Anyway, I've got to commend Edgar Wright for co-writing the script. The film was just so good, and the jokes were very funny. There was even a joke about a swan. Yes, there was a swan in this film. And the fact that he's the one who stops the villain is just... it's funny, alright? It's funny. I'm just biased to the Cornetto trilogy in general. And the fact that all the older village people are basically this whole cult that kill people. Okay, it's alright. Though I feel like Spectre kind of stole the plot point from that, where they had all these people working together. Anyway, are there any negatives with Edgar Wright's directing? No. There's nothing. Though I kind of dislike the fact that he said that there probably won't be a Hot Fuzz sequel. I'm sorry, I just had to point that out. But overall, Hot Fuzz is an extremely enjoyable film. It's got great action, acting, writing, great jokes, and it's just fantastic. I just have to say that. It's so good. And I think there's no surprise when I say what the score is for this. Yes, Hot Fuzz gets a 10 out of 10 very easily. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what I think is the second best in the Cornetto trilogy in general, The World's End. Now, this is sort of a post-apocalyptic film in a way, because there's basically robots trying to take over the world. So I'm going to run over the plot since some people probably think this film is a bit forgettable. So the film starts off with Simon Pegg's character Gary King, and he's narrating over a flashback to 1990 when he and his mates were on their final day of school. So Pegg's character talks about the Golden Mile, basically a pathway to alcoholic indulgence, and they go through 12 pubs and 12 pints. And there's some very interesting mirroring stuff in the flashback that gets repeated in the later parts of the film. So I'm gonna try and remember all the names of the pubs. So I apologise if I get any of these wrong. See, First Post, the Old Familiar, the famous cock. Sorry, every time. Bugger, I can't remember. Yeah, I can't really remember many of the pubs because I haven't really seen The World's End in quite a bit. So anyway, the film is great in general, and I think we should talk about the cast. Okay, so the cast in this is particularly interesting because there are a couple of mainstays from Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, but there's also the new addition of Eddie Marsan as Peter Page, and while Gary King sort of describes Peter as the baby of the group, but he was still good for a laugh, and in Gary's words, he was absolutely minted, which means he was stinking rich. Anyway, one of my favourite character in this film alone is Gary fucking King. I don't need to say it, he is probably the coolest character out of the Cornetto trilogy. Sorry, Nicholas Angel. He's just the coolest guy ever, and when I'm 18, I wish I could go for a pint with him, because he sounds like he'd be good for a laugh. But still, the rest of the cast are great as well. Nick Frost, he plays a more sophisticated character this time around, because in Shaun of the Dead he played sort of like the couch potato type who practically did nothing. Sorry about that. And in Hot Fuzz he just plays the guy who's obsessed with action movies. He's basically an action movie nerd in Hot Fuzz. But in this film he's actually more sophisticated, and that's actually pretty interesting. Paddy Considine, I think that's how you say it, is great as Stephen, and I think him and Oliver's sister have great chemistry at the end of the film. And not to mention, the flashback in that film was extremely hilarious. Martin Freeman also was great as Oliver, or O-Man as the gang called him, because apparently he had a birthmark on his forehead that looked like a 6. Yes, a full birthmark on his head that looked like a number. Only Edgar Wright. Okay, so one thing I very particularly liked about The World's End was the end of The World's End. Because, well, yes, it's post-apocalyptic, and there's this whole monologue about how the giant wave wiped out our technology, this giant pulse wiped out everything in our world, we were left to our own devices. That I particularly liked, but the one thing I liked was how Gary King, with the younger blank versions of his friends, just walk into a pub and they're like, 5 waters, please. And at the end, the bartender's like, who the hell do you think you are? And then Gary King's like, me? They call me the King. Best ending to one of the Cornetto Trilogy films. It's just so good. Alright, now we're back to talking about Edgar Wright again. I think I've said enough. He's just a fantastic director. He did a great job with the sort of zombie aspect in Shaun of the Dead, great with the action aspect of Hot Fuzz, and he does great with the whole explosion post-apocalyptic thing at The World's End. Edgar Wright, if you are probably watching this, you may not be, I've got to commend you, mate. You're just a good director. Anyway, Edgar Wright, I think, is probably one of the greatest directors, and why he dropped out of Ant-Man is beyond me, but that was certainly a missed opportunity. He would have done a great Ant-Man film. And also, a lot of people have seen one of Edgar Wright's more recent films, Baby Driver, and from the reviews, I think I need to go watch that. So, if you could leave me some recommendations about Baby Driver in the comments, that would be really good. But if you don't want to, then fine, I don't really care, I'll go find some reviews myself. Yeah. So overall, The World's End is just a fantastic movie. It's basically got every post-apocalyptic trope in the book, and it's basically got everything I look for in a film. It's got a great trailer that gives away nothing of the plot. It's got great characters, great writing, great chemistry between the actors. It's just a great film in general, and great directing as well. I just talked about that anyway. So it's no surprise here about the score I'm going to give this one, like I did for Hot Fuzz. Yes, that's right, The World's End gets a 10 out of 10, just like Hot Fuzz. Okay, so that was my review on the Three Flavors Cornetto Trilogy. So, tell me, what was your favourite out of the Cornetto trilogy? Did you like Shaun of the Dead? Did you like Hot Fuzz? Did you like The World's End? Or did you like all three of them in general? Why don't you let me know in the comments below? And if you want to go check out some more of our videos, then go ahead. Doctor Who Episode 7 The Resistance is out now on the channel. It's gonna stay there forever. And as usual, I'm going to say thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.